Hi guys, this is Monica and I am coming to you live. This is my first live video. It's not really live, I've recorded it, but I'm not doing any editing, so to me it's live. And I just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the blog post that's coming out this week on Monday, all about anxiety and moving from an anxious state to a calm state. So I just want to take a moment to recap a little bit, to give you a little bit of a teaser about the states of anxiety. So we all have anxiety, we all have anxious moments, and that's totally normal, and it's actually healthy. We're designed to understand when we notice risks and when we notice something that we should be afraid of. Like if there's a lion in front of us, we should be afraid of that. We should not want to cuddle up with the lion because that would just be a little dangerous and a little creepy. So anxiety is there for a reason, and it does serve a purpose. But in today's day and age, we don't always need to feel the fear that maybe our ancestors needed to feel, right? So a lot of us still struggle with that same response, though. That same response of feeling like they're afraid of something, and their body goes into the same mode that it would if they were to see a lion. So our body has two different states that it goes into. Our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system takes over. So let me explain a little bit about what those mean. Our parasympathetic nervous system is the chill out state, and that's where we want to be. But when we are in our sympathetic nervous system, what's happening is we go into that fight, flight, or freeze. And we can't decide whether we're going to fight, flight, or freeze. That just naturally happens to our body. It's kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. Our heart starts to race, we might start to sweat, and we might feel like we need to release our bowels or our bladder. I know that's a little bit disgusting, but when you think about it, back when there was actual presented danger in front of us, our body reacts in a way so that we can get away as fast as possible. And when you don't have a full bladder, you can run a little faster. You don't really need to do that now, but it does make sense, because I don't know about you, but when I get nervous, sometimes I have to go to the bathroom, so you probably have that feeling too sometimes. So when we're in that state, we can't really think clearly, right? So what we want to do is get from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic state. But first we need to recognize that we're in that state. And I think that these are things that I talk about in my blog all the time, is owning your anxiety, recognizing when you're in an anxious state, and knowing how to get out of it. So recognizing, okay, I am in a sympathetic state right now. I feel my heart beating faster. I feel myself sweating, and I feel like I have to go to the bathroom, and I feel like really, really anxious, and I'm in the sympathetic state right now, and I know I need to get out of that, and I need to get to the parasympathetic. That is our chill mode. That is when we calm our heart rate. That's when we're not sweating anymore and we feel a little bit more relaxed. Okay, great. So how do you get from A to B, right? When you're feeling like you actually see a line in front of you, whether you do or don't, which I would hope nobody actually does see the line in front of them. In that case, anxiety works well. You should probably get away. But for the sake of this video, let's just say there's not an actual lion in front of you, but you are afraid of something. So maybe you're afraid of going into a party. So that party, you see a bunch of lions, but really they're just people. So what you need to do is learn how to relax your body. And one way that you can do that is to breathe. Breathing exercises. We've heard of them. We've all done them. A lot of the times we hear breathe in for 10 seconds, hold it, and then breathe out for 5 seconds. That's actually not really okay when you're going through anxiety, because what happens, the studies have told us that when you breathe in and hold it, it actually increases your heart rate. And you don't want to do that when you have anxiety. The last thing you need to do is have a faster heart rate. I think it's doing fine just on its own, pumping as hard as it can. So really all you need to do is breathe in for 10 seconds and breathe out for 10 seconds. That's it. You don't need to hold it all. And you don't just do it once, you do it until you start to feel a little bit more relaxed, because when your body and muscle relaxes, you get the oxygen flow to your brain. And when the oxygen flows in your brain, you can think more clearly. Exercise is also a really, really great one. And when I talk about exercise, I don't mean running a marathon or doing huge cardiovascular. I mean just move. Just get up and move. if you're sitting, especially if you're paralyzed, if you're one of those people that are in the freeze state, because that's how my anxiety manifests, I just get frozen. I always say that I would probably be really good in tragic situations because it doesn't really hit me until later that something happened, because I just freeze. But what happens when I'm freezing is I'm not thinking clearly. I don't know what to do. I can't move forward. I can't move backward. I'm just there, and it's very, very unsettling. So forcing yourself, get up and move. And that is really, really important, because the studies have shown that when you're moving around, obviously you're getting more of the dopamine drug that you need, that the natural producer that you need in your brain, so that you can calm yourself down. And then, of course, there's the grounding techniques too, and there's many ways to do grounding techniques, but one that I really like is the rule of threes. So 3 things you can see, 3 things you can touch, and 3 things that you can hear. And we have 5 senses, and you can do whatever you want. Some people do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with each sense, but sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know, like thinking of like 5 things I can smell might be hard. So don't make yourself more anxious. Just do what works for you. So 3 things that I can see, and I'm sitting out in my sunroom right now, and I can see my bonfire out there, I can see trees, and I can see the couch here in the sunroom. 3 things that I can touch would be the cushion, I can touch my knee, and I can touch the book that I'm reading right now. And then 3 things I can see, smell, taste, touch. So I keep forgetting which ones that I said, but I'm going to say 3 things I can hear. Okay, so I can hear a lawnmower, I can hear somebody banging on wood or something, and I can hear the wind blowing through the trees. Just even doing that with you right now made me think of only things that I could see, hear, and touch. And it made me only think of those things, and that happens when you're in a state of an anxiety too, that when your mind gets off of the thing that is causing anxiety for you, then you start to calm down a little bit, and that makes a huge difference, because you cannot move forward past that sympathetic state until you allow yourself to get to that parasympathetic, that chill state. Right? So these are some techniques that you can use, and there are many, many other techniques. And if you want to learn more about this, and you can go on over to my blog, and there will be the blog post that's going to be coming out on Monday is all about the sympathetic and parasympathetic and techniques that you can use and recognizing. But I also have a lot of resources on my website. My website's www.mindgal.com. Go over there, subscribe to the website so you can never miss all of the great information that goes out once a week. And I also have a podcast that comes out once a week. It's called the Mind Gal Podcast, and that is all about erasing the stigma around mental illness. Anxiety, overcoming obstacles, relationship, expectation, perfectionism, you name it. It's going to be talked about. Last week on the podcast, I talked about the 3 things that you should never say to somebody who's anxious or even just stressed. And I really think that that's a good one for everybody to listen to. So my name is Monica Pitek Fugetti, and I am the host of the Mind Gal podcast, and I also have the website mindgal.com. Resources include, we have a great program called Panic Away over there that is run by this guy named Barry Donahue, and he's really great. He's done a lot of research on anxiety, and he has breathing techniques, and he has audio, and he has video, and he has books. So he kind of touches all of the different areas of learning. And there's also meditation CDs on there. There's essential oils. There's books. Brene Brown's on there. She's one of my faves. And there's a book about women and anxiety that comes along with the workbook that is great. And also there's a 30-day free anxiety slaying challenge that I created. So I think it's pretty good. And so you can go over there and you can download that. You can get that for free, but you do need to subscribe. So go on over mindgal.com and subscribe to the podcast. My name is Monica Pitek Fugetti, and thank you for joining me in my first live podcast. And as a side note, if you've noticed this eyeball situation that I'm having, because it's gross, because I'm looking at myself right now, I had cancer back in 2017. I had breast cancer, and I went through chemotherapy, I lost my hair, I did all those things. And as a result, my retina thinned. And when my retina thinned, it detached from my eye, which is really super gross. So I had to have all these surgeries, which not really super fun. But now I think I popped a blood vessel, and it looks pretty gross. Like, I don't know, I'm not really happy looking at me. Hopefully it's better for you to look at me than it is for me. But anyways, I hope you all have a great week, and come on over to my website. I'd love to have you, and check out my podcast. Thanks, guys.